Welcome to Two Left Thumbs. My name's Graham, and I noticed channel views have maybe been struggling a bit the last few weeks, and there's only one surefire cure for that.
All right, Two Left Thumbs. Obviously a very solid channel so far. Cool. Does all sorts of stuff. What the fuck? Should I be making Friday night? What? I figured out what I need to make my channel on.
More Friday Night Funkin' content, of course. For real though, I always knew I wanted to do another one of these at some point. This is my second video dedicated to highlighting and exploring Friday Night Funkin' mods based around Newgrounds culture and characters. Has it been 3 months since the last one of these videos already? Holy crap. Maybe that's a good thing. I only want to make videos like this when I feel there's enough to talk about, rather than really forcing it. Trying to avoid beating that horse to death too quickly. 2 quick follow-ups if you saw the last video. That full interview and retrospective and history video on the Fancy Pants Adventures is live now. I teased that would be coming soon. You can check that out immediately. I'll have one of those cards in the top right. Don't forget to give that a look. I'm very proud of how that came together. And the Two Left Thumbs themed Friday Night Funkin' mod is in full swing. I promise that if we reached a certain view threshold, I can tell you I hired a musician, artist, and programmer, and we are chipping away to make this thing really unique and a top to bottom love letter to my own Newgrounds contributions. It feels very personal, and I can't wait to share it. Now we can push through and look at a new batch of 5 Newgrounds themed mods, starting with Isaac. Specifically from The Binding of Isaac. This one is interesting in that we may one day see an official Isaac week in the full Friday Night Funkin'. That might not be true of many of the mods I showcase, we simply don't know at this stage. But there are actually documented tweets and conversations with Ed, fans, and Friday Night Funkin' team members openly discussing this possibility. Other evidence suggesting communication between these devs came from the Binding of Isaac 4 Souls card game. There was a recent Kickstarter for the expansion, and as these stretch goals and unlocks, they added Warp Zone cards, which were added to Requiem as a means for including characters from outside franchises. Both Boyfriend and Girlfriend were added as Warp Zone cards. Communications have definitely been had there. While Isaac has become a massive property beyond its Flash origins, I think it's important to recognize that it started as a Flash game with strong ties to Newgrounds. Developer Ed McMillan had been uploading there for many years prior under the name Blue Baby. That was a totally unrelated series he created, also using it as a username, then repurposing it as an end boss and playable character, who otherwise would only be referred to by a series of question marks. This mod leans into the Newgrounds side of things, and presents the character design as one more reminiscent of Ed's own chunky Flash game line art, rather than the pixels of Isaac Rebirth. While I'm sure most are aware, especially anyone on this channel who watched my hour-long video on the lore of The Binding of Isaac, the basic story of that game revolves around Isaac and his mother. You know how the story goes.
Isaac and his mother lived alone in a small house on a hill.
Struggling as a single mother, Mom turns to religion, becoming a dangerous devotee. There is clear evidence in the game that Isaac is abused, and he fears that she may attempt to kill him as an offering to God in her crazed delusions. He flees through a trapdoor in the basement, fighting his way through hordes of twisted monsters, using his tears as weapons in a constant battle to survive. Through this, he experiences disturbing mutilations through items and power-ups. The 3 songs are Sacrificial, Innocence Glitched, and Innermost Apocalypse. Supposedly, the full title is My Inner Apocalypse. They are based around music from the original Flash game and the fan-made Anti-Birth, rather than anything seen in the Rebirth remake. Looking at the titles of those 3 songs, Sacrificial reflects Isaac fearing he is to be sacrificed by his mother to please God. Innocence Glitched reflects the running themes of corruption and sin, while also referencing the intentional in-game glitch mechanics and secrets. And while the Apocalypse is obviously playing on the biblical nature of the story, it has more to do with Isaac's battle with damnation. Everything in the game is really a representation of that internal turmoil. Isaac presents some evidence of a split personality disorder, or at the very least an extreme level of identity crisis. Every character you play as in-game is an alternate persona Isaac takes, reflecting different sides of his psyche. cheeky. In the second song, each direction swaps him to a different one of the Flash version characters: Magdalene, Eve, Judas, and Cain. All biblical characters as well, each version being shown holding their respective in-game starting item. The background setting is the basement in which the game starts, and there is a picture of Ash from The End Is Nigh on the wall, another game from Ed McMillan that also deals with dark and personal themes. Girlfriend sits atop an item podium from which Isaac would collect his power-ups, instead of her usual speakers. The showdown is being watched by Gapers, a common humanoid enemy type found in the basement. In the third song, Isaac sprouts wings, reflecting a late-game boss battle at the end of the cathedral, where Isaac battles an angelic version of himself. Also in this song, the Curse of the Unknown activates. This is lifted straight from the games, with curses randomly taking effect when entering a new floor. Here we entered the cathedral. This works the same in the Isaac game and mod, hiding away elements of the UI, namely your own health. As he is defeated, he ascends, presumably to heaven, same as he would in the Binding of Isaac. The hard mode in this mod is referred to as Eternal, matching the Wrath of the Lamb Eternal Edition that first added a hard mode to the Binding of Isaac series. While I have you, and we're on the subject, if you're into roguelike games with more mature themes and foundations on Newgrounds, I'm thrilled to announce that we finally have a release date for Dead Estate. People have been asking in the comments a lot lately how much I'm being paid to plug these games. No, that's not the case. I am actively involved in putting this game out there. This is a personal vested interest, and me wanting to share this game that I had a role in. So yes, it's an advertisement, but it's not an ad. No one's paying me. That's why I'm plugging this game so aggressively. This is the first one we're putting out there, so we really want it to do well. This is a top-down roguelike shooter with horror themes being developed by the Milk Bar lads and published by Two Left Thumbs. It's coming out in just 1 month. You can wishlist it today on Steam, which would help us out immensely, and other storefronts will hopefully be listed soon. This will be the first game Two Left Thumbs has published. We're so immensely proud of it, and it would mean the world if you check that one out. I'll have links down below. Seriously, wishlists alone are very much appreciated. Mod creator RXB has shared a few teases of what they have planned next for this full week mod. There will be a song that appears to take place at the end of the dark room where Isaac would normally fight the Lamb. Here we're fighting a demonic form Isaac, while a little brimstone familiar and girlfriend blast brimstone beams at one another, an item that's notoriously quite overpowered. I love the anime style way their two big beams are clashing with one another. There has been another song tease that includes a still image of Blue Baby and the title Acceptance. It is series canon that Isaac dies at the end of the events of the Binding of Isaac, becoming Blue Baby. So this song could be the finale, accepting that final death. I think it's cool to have this 10-year-long series with all its complex intricacies, having its lore compressed down into just a handful of songs and presented in this alternate format. I'm excited to see the final thing get wrapped up. There are 2 custom intro texts for this mod at this time. One is the much memed phrase, "I will become back my money." A user sent this near incomprehensible tweet to Ed McMillan. "You little fucker, you made a shit of peace with your trash Isaac. It's fucking bad, this trash game. I will become back my money. I hope you will in your next time a cow on a trash farm, you sucker." Supposedly this guy made it while he was just super drunk, and people have really ran with it at this point. And the other, Bob's Brain, best item, which people kind of collectively agree this item isn't that great because you so often kill yourself with it, but Ed McMillan maintains they're just using it wrong. Second is StrawberryClock. I just thought that was kind of cheeky and funny, making it second on the list. B is the second letter of the alphabet. Just last month, on August 15th, we had the 20th anniversary of B, and thus also the anniversary of StrawberryClock and the Clock Crew. It's one of the oldest, most intriguing bits of Newgrounds lore and history. I made essentially a mini documentary about it to coincide with that date, and I would highly recommend it. I guess I'm just gonna recommend all my videos one by one. Should I start back at the beginning? Yeah, watch those ones too. This one? Maybe that one over there? You could watch those. Seen here, a list of extremely watchable videos. So now that I've got all those recommendations out of the way, I can try to get back to the video on hand. Check that one out specifically if you're interested in Newgrounds history, especially the stuff that runs really deep. I kind of love that the art for this mod isn't as refined as many others, as the original root of these clock animations were spam submissions with low effort art and animation. Whether that was an intentional stylistic choice or not for this mod, it certainly feels at home with the best of the worst the clocks have to offer. The opening menu has a crowned strawberry clock, which is how they are often depicted, as they are both the ruler of their own fictional Clocktopia, but also because they bear the title of Self-Appointed King of the Portal, a rank and title made in jest that Newgrounders all rally behind, but don't take very seriously. This being called Clock Week could be a reference to the existence of Clock Day, but maybe there just weren't that many other things you could call it that would make a whole lot of sense. The 3 songs are Clock Funk, which just kinda sounds cool, B, an overt reference to the Newgrounds submission that really started it all, a 1-frame submission of an off-centered red B on a white background, and last, The King, which is another reference to the idea of Strawberry being the king of the portal. It's become quite common for Boyfriend's name to be mocked as not being a real name, but I had to laugh at this mod taking it a step further that the file extension also made it into their name, causing even more confusion. Show me what you got has become a fairly common type of line in these mods. I assume this dialogue was borrowing the
"Let's see what you got"
from Week 7 Tankman, although there's a chance it's simply a tropey, easily written common phrase, or yet again could potentially be a reference to Rick and Morty.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got.
I'm starting to think maybe it's just a tropey kind of line and not meant to be a reference. I think they did a good job making Strawberry's Speakonia text-to-speech voice bass sound a little more musical.
I want to drive.
You don't even have a driver's license.
I want to drive right now.
But it maybe ends up drifting a little far from the original and loses the absurdity and hilarity of how crappy his voice is usually presented. In the background, we have other key fruit clocks like Pineapple Clock and Orange Clock, who were key members of that original 5 starting the clock crew, plus the commonly recurring Turd Clock, Banana Clock, and Carrot Clock. It's already getting annoying saying clock that many times, so luckily the few other things on screen here are not clocks. Drunk Magic Koopa created this abomination called the Pube Muppet. The idea was that it was a Muppet that was just a big ball of scribbly pubes, but that alone obviously wouldn't look very Muppet-like. My understanding is they threw Kermit's head on there as an intentionally poorly done way to sell this strange Muppet gag. It was essentially made to offend, but instead sort of caught on and became its own thing. So the heads of Bleeker and Gonzo with scribbles underneath are presumably plays on that weird joke? Honestly, I think I would be more happy not researching that any further than I already have. The background also has a Clocktopia crypto bank store on the left and an express makeover station to the right. I do not know what specific clock things those would have come from, but tucked in the back is a newsstand and a little strawberry lock. He actually isn't seen while playing with Girlfriend in the way, so it's a pretty clever little Easter egg you actually have to dig for. This is referencing the Newgrounds spin-off crew, the Lock Legion, which itself was started with a strawberry lock, but I won't get much more in depth with that. That's the starting point of their history. The rest of it is covered in that Clock Crew video. Between the first and second song, Strawberry alludes to Captain calling Boyfriend a simp.
Pretty tight bars for a little dude who's simping over an ugly, boring little teenager that wears her mom's clothes.
Setting this non-canon mod after Week 7. Obviously the continuity of a mod isn't that important, but thought people might like that little detail. There is quite a lot of goofy stuff stuck in a folder titled What in the Mod Downloads. Clearly the creators were just having a bit of fun and decided to do a inside joke dump in these folders. The devs of the full game have done that as well. I don't think I can add any context to any of this, other than that this specific picture is a purposely bad drawing of Tom from Eddsworld. There are a lot of StrawberryClock intro texts, many of them are pretty immature. StrawberryClock, StrawberryClock Pog, check his Newgrounds. Clock Crew, best crew. All hail the king of the portal. Elmo, Week 8 Friday Night Funkin'. Eddsworld mod, coming soon. The fish with chocolate. I don't know what else to write here. Newgrounds' best site. Sans Undertale for FNF. Old Godzilla was hopping around. The first line from The Ultimate Showdown.
Old Godzilla was hopping around Tokyo City like a big playground.
I like rusty spoons, a reference to Salad Fingers, who I'm going to talk about in this video. I want to download porn. Here, have some chalky milk. I don't think this is the most polished mod, and maybe it really wasn't meant to be. But I did genuinely enjoy the music throughout this one. Well done on that for sure. I think the difficulty is challenging but fair. At least it's not on the out of control side. I'd recommend it for that alone, as well as it being a gateway to an important part of Newgrounds history. So last time around I would have done the tricky mod, but with Madness Project Nexus getting a release date after 7 years in development, and maybe as a bit of a tide over after having to delay my Madness Day 2021 intended massive flashlight video. It's still coming soon. I don't have a new date for it. I just had to focus really heavily on Deltarune stuff for a bit there. I figured I could pay a little more mind to the massive attention this series has gained through Friday Night Funkin'. Not to discredit the work Crinkles has done, his massive 18-year-long series accumulated millions of views for years all on its own. But it simply is garnering a little extra exposure recently, and this whole new fan base, which is crazy considering it's yet to be officially a part of Friday Night Funkin', and has only teased the planned inclusion of Hank. Coincidentally, Phantom Arcade is seemingly hyping up the possibility of Hank being Week 8, and maybe that's something they plan to release early rather than waiting for the full game. So if it's finally going to be official, maybe I should make an isolated mini episode to cover that when it drops. It feels like it'd be disappointingly short, but maybe it's still something people would be eager to hear more on. Let me know if I should make like a, 5 or 7 minute video when that week drops. This time I'm going to look at the Jebus mod. This is the first joke mod I've ever covered, and while it may appear highly polished, it's considered a joke because of the way things sort of fall apart and lose that quality partway through. But that doesn't mean it isn't chock full of extra details and Easter eggs. Jebus's full name is Jebediah Christoff, and they're also referred to as Jesus Christ or the Savior throughout the Madness series. Their design here is made to match Madness 5 Depredation, covered in stitches and bandages. The major difference being that you can see a little zombified corner on his head. Dating back to Madness Combat 1, he has the ability to summon this black cross that can be used as a bullet shield. This is mapped to his right arrow pose in the mod. The 3 songs are Deicide, Blasphemy, and Wreath. Deicide is the act of killing a divine being. Regicide is killing the king, fratricide is killing your brother, deicide is killing a deity. Blasphemy, a little more straightforward, very literal definition there. It is the act of speaking or acting in a way that would offend God or some sacred thing, which is kind of ironic because Jebus as a character is most certainly a blasphemous thing. And Wreath, I imagine, was intended to be a bit of wordplay. Wrath would be a very logical, final, anger-ridden song. Feel the wrath of God. Well, Christ, Christmas reads, wrath. I think that's what they were going for. I love the detail in the opening animation where Jebus is using a PNG of a sniper instead of an actual drawing. The background includes these fake cardboard style cutouts of Tricky and Hank, and the sick text for doing well is replaced by mad. I have to laugh that in the game files, they refer to these 2 images as Honk and Ticky, leaning into some of the memes that have spawned from the Madness series. Before the second song, Jebus rambles the most ridiculous nonsense possible. I felt like I was having a stroke reading it. Turns out it comes from one of Flula's early morning car videos where he discusses English phrases that don't make much sense to him. I remember seeing one of these forever ago where he ranted about daddy long legs. This text is taken from a video where he doesn't understand the phrase suck my dick.
Please now take my most valuable sensitivity possession in my body. It have no protection, it have no helmet or something. No, it's just flopsy and sensitivity. Please take it, because we are not friends. What? And place it inside now a hole of you that is owning many objects for crunching and destruction.
Blasphemy includes all sorts of random collections of sound effects and noises, including drums being banged away like mad, a repeated use of the bruh sound effect, and a big old stanky fart. Then the very end of the song is a mangled sample from the official Pico song, Philly Nice. Originally, all of it was intended to be bad, but a remaster was added that made that first song, Die Side, quite traditional and pretty enjoyable. The original crappy version can still be accessed within the files. Apparently plans are in place to improve Blasphemy, and it will instead be called Blastphemy, but it was confirmed Wreath will remain a joke. For that third song, Jebus devolves a little bit into a slightly less detailed version of himself. The art is just kind of sketchy looking, and a short ways to the song, the right note on the track falls away entirely, even though that's not going to make things all that much easier for you. In their small exchange, Jebus uses one of the Kisma, Ligma, Sugma jokes, Kisma ass, but there is a 1 in 1,000 Easter egg where there is this more expanded upon exchange. It is claimed by the devs that this was generated by an AI. I hope that's the case. There's so many things out there where the quote generated by an AI is someone writing in the style of AI generation. So, I hope this one's legit. He kind of fumbles the setup of his stupid joke. Kiss my ass. Jumping straight to the punchline. Oh, right. My mom has what the hell is what? Isn't that the name of an STD? Yeah, that's what she has. What? Don't try to deny it. You're a man. You've had the monkey business. What are you talking about? I can see the future, and your girlfriend's name is going to be Susan. What? I see that you're future, and since I can tell the future, I can see that your girlfriend is going to get pregnant with a monkey's baby. Oh man, that's not going to go over well. I also see that you're going to get beaten severely and urinated on by a bunch of monkeys. Even worse, and that's only the beginning of your misfortune, but quite frankly, compared to your girlfriend, you are going to have a better life. Nonsense. Anyway, the future is not set in stone. You can change it. For a price. What price? Your soul. What? Simple. You want your girlfriend's miseries to end? You gotta give me your soul. Wait, what? Yeah, I think there's like a 98% chance that was not written by an AI. There's a bit of binary written on Jebus's sword that decodes to 316, which is likely referring to passage 316 from the Bible. Big book. Maybe you've heard of it. I think it's pretty well known. Somewhere just below Harry Potter, maybe? The passage in question has to do with God sacrificing Jesus for the sake of the world. When the song ends, a rigid Pico waddles across the scene, and he and boyfriend make out. Their relationship has been a rather contentious part of the series lore, so I imagine this was put in to rustle the jimmies of anyone who would have their jimmies rustled by this ship. They included a couple custom intro texts. His name is not Lemon Demon, you half-wit, in reference to the Week 2 monster, who many thought was based on Lemon Demon, but it's a coincidence I explained in a different video. Senpai isn't self-aware. He isn't the trapped soul, referring to Week 6. Third note in UG is high, not low. You're tone deaf. Senpai isn't a trapped soul. Look it up, dimwit. If your mod uses quad notes, it sucks, being those moments where you have to press all 4 keys at once. There's another hidden file titled Tiki Truckiki, making fun of the fact that so many Madness mods spawned after the success of the Tricky mod. There is also a folder titled Please Don't Open This Folder. There's a file titled A, and then 28 copies of that file. Most of them are blank. Copy 2 has Jebus spaced out across the file. 11 has If Jesus is Jesus-y, then Jebus I. And the rest are blank. There's also one image titled Sexing, and it's the image of boyfriend and Pico kissing, although black bar is the actual kiss. There is a hidden 4th song in the mod files, Adigot Zalagalazot, which is a Caesar cipher for unsanctification. A Caesar cipher is a simple one-to-one where every letter has a different corresponding letter, which are simply chosen by sliding the alphabet down but keeping them in order. In this case, they would have shifted by 6 letters. A becomes U, T becomes N, and so on. This song is designed to be impossible without cheating. It is too chaotic to pick all this out myself, but I've read that there are voice tracks from Ronald McDonald, Sans, Dio, Team Fortress 2's Spy, Manfred von Karma, Senpai, and Gigas all mixed into this song. I'd recommend not even trying to load or play this song. You just are going to fail, and it has to spawn in so many notes that it might actually overheat your CPU. They have shared this teaser of Jeb V2, the pacifist. His shirt's a little blocked off. I'm guessing it says, "I'm Jesus Christ. This is as dressed up as I get." He's holding a rake instead of a sword. Just a few days ago, they also posted the teaser Go Mad. It features a short bit of music and director Phobos from Project Nexus holding Jeebus' sword. So it'll be interesting to see how they integrate that into the story. It's exciting to see them taking steps to make this as big and exciting as it possibly could be. Maybe not as detailed or polished as the Tricky mod. Obviously wasn't what they were going for. I'll be curious to see the updates they put into it next. With Madness Project Nexus finally dropping after 7 years, you absolutely should go pick it up. It's like the penultimate Madness experience. I can't recommend it enough. Crinkles, Swain, the rest of the developers, they deserve it so much. While you're over there adding that one, maybe, chuck Dead Estate on your wish list real quick too. As a wise woman once said, why not both? And finally, we have Salad Fingers. That is the name of this lanky creep with his long green fingers, created by David Firth, aka Doki, on Newgrounds. This character has existed since 2004 and has spanned 11 animations, most recently seen in 2019. It is some of the most twisted, surreal, fever dream content you could possibly watch on Newgrounds. Well, still being something of notable quality. There is really nothing else like it, and it only gets more and more strange as you watch it. It's not going to be for everyone, but fans of Salad Fingers are typically pretty diehard. I'm really leaning towards long-running characters and series in this video, eh? The clocks are 20 years old, Madness is 18, Salad Fingers is 17, and Isaac is then by far the youngest, just nearing 10 years old. I suppose that's fitting since the game is all about a young child, but man does it ever make you think how crazy long-running Newgrounds history really is. That's part of why I love doing these videos and talking about it. Back to Salad Fingers. It is titled The Rusty Week in reference to Salad Fingers' obsession with rusty spoons and touching said rusty spoons.
I like to touch them. The feeling of rust against my salad fingers is almost orgasmic.
This can even be seen with his rusty microphone. The two songs present are Beware and Friend. That first song title could refer to the sense of looming danger, uncertainty, and threatening nature of these cartoons. Or back before David Firth switched to using only original music, he often included the track Beware the Friendly Stranger from Boards of Canada as a backing track for Salad Fingers episodes, and it was last heard in episode 7. This short, staticky track is actually used as a foundation for the song Beware within this mod. So that's a very likely connection for that first song at least. The second song, Friend, could also be taken a step further, potentially referencing Salad Fingers' isolation and constant search for and usual failure to earn a true new friend. It was actually rather recently updated to include voice acting, although it's only for that first track for now. Even without the voice acting, I do appreciate the dedication to recreating the handwritten font Firth uses throughout the series. It has been reported that this is actually David Firth voicing his character. I'm almost entirely confident that's not the case, but that should be seen as a credit to this voice actor. You can tell it's missing some of that frail insecurity and occasional stuttering that really sell the voice work.
Might I ask where you keep the spoons?
Oh, a visitor. How lovely.
But it's still a very respectable imitation that takes this mod to the next level. I mean, look at Girlfriend. She is clearly horribly wigged out by this dude. Who wouldn't be, really? He often speaks like this overly formal elderly person, and the writing in the mod does a good job reflecting that. Asking this young child if they want some confectionery. It's all so strange and unsettling, and that kind of sums up the whole series. And it's really nothing compared to how they sound once it switches gears to who we can all now call salad singers. Salad singers? It only really works if you kind of over-enunciate. Ugh, what a strange character. I can't help but love it. I'll have to make a video on all of David Firth's work someday. There's nobody else doing what this guy does. And now here I am plugging videos I haven't even made yet. Two left thumbs. Fastest plugger in the West. There's a fun commitment to the strange anachronistic storytelling of Salad Fingers. It sort of all takes place out of any recognizable time or space, and we have this rap battle now taking place with a tiny old radio instead of the usual giant speakers. The radio is actually a character in the series as well, that Salad Fingers has named Roger. It often speaks to him and actually will scare him into hiding. And he kind of feeds it by just pouring things into the back. This animation's already so weird, I can't imagine what these clips look like out of context if you've never seen it before. For the second song, Salad Fingers busts out his finger puppet, Hubert Cumberdale. This is one of 3 puppets he has, speaking to them and through them.
This is Hubert Cumberdale.
Holding whole conversations between himself and these characters. Yes, Mr. Fingers is a very lonely individual. He actually holds the mic up to Hubert instead for this song, with the face icon at the bottom also swapping to Hubert. There is some crazy, dark, horrifying stuff in those 11 episodes. Seemingly, work is still being done on this mod. I'll be so curious to see to what extent they really pull that all in. It's shaping up to be a really strong, really well put together mod. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. Hey, so you're into this creepy weirdo stuff then, eh? Well, let me use that as a segue to remind you one more time to go wishlist Dead Estate over on Steam. It's really flawless, isn't it? The release date is only about a month away. We couldn't be more excited to get that in your hands. And go watch some videos or whatever. Have I brought that up at all this video? I don't think I have. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to the patrons of the channel whose names are off to the right. And I hope to see you all again soon.